It's about that time where we need to make one of the most difficult decisions in World of Warcraft as we approach a new expansion. It's time to pick a main. But how do we do that? Believe me, I have wasted countless hours just stuck at the character screen in previous expansions, not having a clue what class I want to commit all of my time to. But after maining a class for the majority of Dragonflight, I think I've finally got it sussed, and after this video, hopefully you will too. So I think where we need to start and what we need to understand is that the best way to get started with picking our main is a process of elimination. There are 39 vastly different specs in World of Warcraft, all offering different roles, gameplay styles, and fantasies. So first, let's whittle this down. Let's start with the very foundation of your class, the roles. These roles are the fundamentals of how your class plays, and they will dramatically change how you experience the game, especially in grouped content. The tank role generally means that you are expected to be the leader of the group as you charge headfirst into battle to soak up the damage from the enemies so that the rest of your group can perform their roles optimally. This role comes with a lot of extra responsibility. Typically with leading the group, you are expected to have at least a basic understanding of the route that you need to take in order to complete the dungeon, as well as the mechanics of the enemies you're fighting, as if you die, your group is definitely going down with you. All of this extra responsibility does come with its benefits though. Less people play tanks in general, so you have a massive advantage when getting into groups. Tanks are a respected role that are always in high demand, so your queue times when searching for groups will be almost non-existent. If you think of yourself as a leader and somebody that thrives under pressure, then this role is probably a great pick for you. The healer role is based around keeping your allies alive and healthy, while potentially even weaving in some damage yourself. Some healers even deal damage to actually do their healing. Healing is generally a thankless job, but they are the unsung heroes of all grouped content. It's quite satisfying knowing that if you weren't there, no one would be alive. It can be very stressful at times due to its reactionary gameplay, but seeing your screen light up in green numbers as you restore your friend's vitality makes it all worth it. When healing, you are an easy scapegoat for why the group died when actually it was just your team standing in the fire, so I want to warn you to expect some flame even when it's not your fault. It does suck, but don't take any notice. I just wanted to get that out there. Healers do struggle with this. But if you have thick skin and enjoy a reactionary playstyle as your friends stand in fire, then healing might be for you. Finally, we have the DPS role. The aim of damage dealers is to deal as much damage as possible by executing their rotation well, while keeping themselves alive by using defensives and crowd control to stop enemies, because remember, a dead DPS is no DPS. That extra cast isn't going to make up for your loss of damage for the rest of the fight, so please get out of those swirlies. DPS can be split into melee or ranged, and they are pretty much two separate roles in themselves. Melee DPS find themselves amongst the action, with faster playstyles as most of their abilities are instant cast as they swing and slash their weapons with amazing mobility. There is always something to press when playing in melee. Ranged DPS will cast spells from a safe distance. They generally play a little bit slower with longer casts, but they are much more methodical as positioning becomes a much bigger mechanic for them. If you're a competitive person that wants that #1 spot on the damage meter with overall less responsibility, then you should definitely consider a damage dealer. We might jump the gun here a little bit for some of you, but after narrowing down our desired class after picking the role that we want to fill, some of you may be able to nail it down even more right now. Maybe you like the idea of being able to fill multiple roles on one singular class. This is going to eliminate even more options. Say you wanted to mainly DPS, but you love the idea of being able to tank if your group needs. Well, this means that we can eliminate all of the pure DPS classes, like mages, hunters, and warlocks. This is going to vastly reduce your choices and make your main stand out even more. Now that we know what roles we want to fill, we need to continue our process of elimination. Next up, I'd focus on the theme of each class. For me, class fantasy is a massive part of my connection to the class that I'm playing before we even get to the gameplay. I could be having the time of my life on a Windwalker monk, for example, but because I don't personally vibe with the class at all, I probably wouldn't last very long on it as my main. I have a full class picking guide that's just been released on my channel that breaks down the lore and class fantasy of every single class in the game, as well as their gameplay styles, iconic abilities, and hero talents. So go check that out to help you make your decision. So do you want to be a dark sorcerer that summons demonic minions to do your bidding? Well then, a warlock would be a great pick. Is there anything cooler than embodying the Lich King himself? No? Okay, Death Knight is your class. Maybe you enjoy using the Holy Light to restore your friend's health. Priest and Paladins would then be a great pick. Really take the time here to understand what you want from your class in terms of the background of your character, the type of spells or weapons that you use, or maybe even the type of armor that they wear. While we're on this point, I do quickly just want to touch on what else I consider important when choosing your character. I really do think that the race of your character is an underappreciated choice that may impact how much you enjoy your character long term. For me personally, I don't really vibe with the bigger, bulkier races like Taurens or Colterans for the most part. To me, they feel sluggish and slow, so I always opt for the more agile looking races, and of course, they do have to match your class. Again, this is my opinion, but a Tauren rogue looks absolutely ridiculous to me. If I was to play a rogue, I'd probably go for a cool undead or even a human. And now once we know what classes we vibe with, we can now finally focus on the playstyle and gameplay. I don't think there's really any specs in the game that feel the same as the next one. They are all wildly different and cater to different preferences. The pace of a class is a big distinction between one another. If you like to mash your buttons rapidly and really feel engaged in your rotation, then you may opt for something like the Protection Paladin or Outlaw Rogue, as they boast some of the highest actions per minute in the game. If you prefer a slower, more methodical playstyle, then you may consider a range spec like a Devastation Evoker or a Marksmanship Hunter. The tempo of your DPS class could also be dictated by how quickly your class does its damage. Some people prefer a much burstier playstyle where they pump damage off the rip. You'd get this from a Fury Warrior. Others enjoy a rampy playstyle where you might be maintaining dots and letting them build up in damage, well then Affliction Warlock may be for you. Or maybe you're just looking for an easier class to kick back on and chill with your friends. If you'd like to tank while doing this, then Guardian Druid is considered a very friendly choice for newer tanks. If you want an easy healing life, the Holy Priest is quite simple with their on-demand healing. If you'd like to enjoy an easy DPS class, then for melee I'd go with the Frost Death Knight, and for ranged, undoubtedly your best choice is the Beast Mastery Hunter. All these specs that I've mentioned are pretty straightforward to play at a decent level, but they do have room to show off your skill. Very soon I'll be uploading a tier list of the easiest to hardest specs in the game, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Ultimately, the best way to figure out what gameplay you enjoy the most is to play the specs that you have an interest in. You can test these out on the pre-patch, but do remember that hero talents are not introduced yet, and believe me, they do affect your class massively. So if you're fortunate enough to have beta access, then play a variety of different classes in all types of content and see which class you vibe the most with. Other helpful ways to understand your class's gameplay include watching beta content, whether it's Mythic Plus runs that show you the sick new animations for the hero talents, or even content tailored specifically to help you understand the classes. Consume it all and get hyped for the class that you're going to end up playing. On my channel, a big focus of mine over the next few weeks will be helping you guys to whittle down your main choices, and hopefully after this video that choice is either done or made a hell of a lot easier. The last thing that I do want to add is don't chase the flavor of the month. This applies to the general population of WoW. There are some players that only really enjoy playing the meta because they push the highest content and need to play it, but for the 99% of you, play the class that you enjoy and want to play because it will be able to clear all the content that you want to clear. If you enjoy your spec enough, you will make it work, and to be honest, you'll probably play it at a better level than a lot of the meta players because you've mastered your class. Playing a flavor of the month class is playing at Blizzard's mercy. You can spend months gearing up and learning your new meta class for Blizzard to nerf it the next week, and then you never touch it again because you didn't enjoy playing it anyway. It's a surefire way to burn out from the game quickly, and I'd strongly recommend against it. Of course, you can ignore my advice and you may just end up having to play a different class every month, so play the game how you will enjoy it. That's why we're playing it in the first place. But these are the steps I have been using and will continue to use going forward for every single expansion of WoW in helping pick my main. In the coming weeks, I'll be releasing a video going over my choices for my main and any potential ults that I'll be playing. But what about you? Are you sticking to your trusty main that you've played since vanilla, or are you going to switch things up for the war within? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know what classes you guys are all going to be maining, and if this video did help you make that decision, then please feel free to drop a like down below and subscribe to your boy, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.